365 Days Until the Wedding Anime First Impressions. So, the first show I'm talking about in fall 2024 is 365 Days to the Wedding, or Kekkon Surute Honto desu ka? I wanted my wholesome picks this season, and after reading the description, I knew this show could be a great fit for me. Basic explanation of the premise is that the two main characters work for a travel agency that needs to send someone overseas. Both of them realize that the only way to avoid this is to fake getting engaged to each other. One of the reasons why I picked the show is because it follows genuine working adults. I went into it hoping for a more mature perspective and reflection on romance, working, marriage, and other topics like that. And so far, I am very satisfied with its delivery on that expectation. It also delivers strongly on establishing its leads, who both have endearing quirks and intriguing issues that lead to personalities that don't synchronize well with the world around them. And this makes for a very interesting show so far, and a very good introduction. So there will be spoilers for the first 3 episodes of the anime. This anime did a great job introducing us to our leads, Takuya and Reika, who I absolutely love. Their quirks and headspaces were quickly established to great effect, with them both coming across as very endearing and relatable. One of the reasons why is that in the first episode, we organically get to see the inner thoughts of both of them as they go through their day working near each other. We get to see them, like their differences, and also their similarities before they actually formally meet each other, and it was done in a very understandable way that fits with the setting. And as we go through the rest of episode 1 and then episode 2, we get a very strong understanding of how these two act and think. So first, I'll be talking about Takuya, and I can say that the cat humor in this episode is really good. Him begging Kama on his knees to behave when other people were over is hilarious. And his devotion to his cat is very sweet and cute, and I'm looking forward to a lot more cute cat shenanigans. So Takuya would love nothing more than to just live a quiet life with his cat, but hopefully he isn't a murderer with explosion powers. He struggles with making quick actions, needing a little more time to think than most before responding. And I relate to this a lot. I've struggled with that a lot. This can get him in hot water with his coworkers, making him seem like he's not paying attention or slacking off, etc. It also makes it more difficult to participate in conversations around him, which increases the challenge of building relationships. We get some glimpses of animosity from him towards others as a result of getting criticized and not fitting in. On the spectrum of introversion, I put him more towards lonely rather than loner because of this point. If he truly doesn't care about people's opinions, then he would be less inclined to get hung up on the misunderstandings and criticisms, but we'll see as we get further in the show as well. Another trait of his that I really like is how seriously he takes meaningful concepts such as marriage. Even when he was alone with Reika, the person he was putting on this fake marriage with, just them, he could not get himself to utter a proposal. Words and the meaning behind them are very important to him. This matches very well with his trait of taking time to think. He believes strongly in the weight that words carry, so when he speaks, he wants them to be right. Perhaps later on, we'll get a bit more into why this may be. It could have something to do with the strained relationship he seems to have with his family, for example. He also has some very serious insecurity. When he struggles to speak up, he berates himself and is left with regret. And we also see this with his escorting of the princess. It's obvious, at least to us, how much the princess enjoyed the tour that he put on for her. While he seems to accept that she did enjoy it, he immediately rejects the idea that it was as great as she said. But he's not all doom and gloom, as his relationship with his cat is genuinely very touching. And we also get to see a bit more of his sweet side, where he gives many compliments to Reika as he gets to know her better. And I really can't wait to see more of that, such as how they're both seemingly outcasts, but are fit very well together. And getting into Reika, she is a map fanatic who wants to live a quiet life focused on her passions, particularly towards maps. She is also awkward and very much an introvert, but is not a slow thinker exactly like Takuya. She struggles to come up with anything to say to people, period, which can come across as basically giving people the silent treatment. This, along with her neutral look when disinterested and her tendency to unintentionally stare, makes her come across as an unpleasant person. And I really love her monologue where she says that she is not angry as she comes across, but it's not that exactly that she's happy deep down either. she does not desire to talk to people enough that she doesn't think clarifying is worth it. And that's one way that she's different from Takuya. She is more neutral about these misunderstandings, rather than getting angry like Takuya does. She does not want to waste energy on things she is not interested in. And I think she falls very firmly in the loner territory of the spectrum. Her neutrality towards life vanishes when she's out of social situations, though. When she's alone, she goes from a stone-faced woman to a giddy little girl. She seems like the type to have a few hyperfixations that she devotes pretty much all of her time to, rather than being someone with more broad interests. She hits on the endearing qualities of people who have a deep passion for specific topics. It's very cute watching her pore over maps and gush about them and stuff like that, and her other little passions that we also got to see. There's definitely some deep-seated insecurity about her passions that I think we're starting to see hints of. When she's around people, she immediately puts on the neutral mask and hides her enthusiasm. I'm sure we'll find out more about this as the show continues. We have some hints, such as the anger she showed towards the person that she was angry about being texted by. And together, both our leads are super likable and engrossing to engage with. They do not rely entirely on their great chemistry to be entertaining. I said they're both very good characters who, while similar, can stand very strongly on their own. But together, they also bring a lot of sweetness, comedy, and reflection on various themes, and have really good chemistry. These two have a lot in common as struggling introverts, and as a result, that can help them get along very well. They're both wallflowers who have trouble fitting into the office environment, which makes navigating their job more difficult. Both of them do not have much interest in social situations, though I would say their specifics on that vary, as I explained before. They also both seem deeply insecure, frequently belittling themselves. They keep instinctively holding themselves back from changing, as well as they interact more, they obviously need to talk to each other more, but they resist that change. They can also be very similar when it comes to tackling challenges. They both take on things with a very stiff, business-like procedure, planning details to the dot as best they can. They both struggle with surprises, so they do their best to prepare ahead of time. But because of their unique ways of thinking and experiences that are out of touch with the average person, their plans tend to fall apart. They both also struggle to see the appeals of marriage and why others get so excited about theirs. Their conversation about the concept of people glowing is really great. They individually glow from spending time with their cat and indulging in maps and those related things, respectively, rather than viewing themselves as glowing because of marriage, as the other office workers saw them as. We see them connect the most when they're talking about their different passions and their shared experiences brought about by their introversion, like being trees in the school play, the stereotypical school play role for people who don't want to stand out and are viewed as boring. I also love the scene of Rika giving Takuya the frog-shaped rock. That is really great representation of them noticing each other's quirks and appreciating them. It's in these moments that their chemistry is at its best, and why I'm really getting brought on board to them actually being a couple. They also struggle to work together due to their status quo of handling things on their own. Another similarity that also makes both of them more appealing as characters is that they're willing to step up to challenges when they feel it's the best thing to do, even when they don't want to. Takuya still did his best to be an attendant, despite that not being his job. And Reika stepped up to help Takuya's father when he came by as a customer, when everyone else was busy, despite not having that role either. And as someone who does not have a customer-facing role at the company I work for, I really understand the fear of having to step in that position and respect a character who can do that. They also both struggle to work together, keeping the facade going mostly through one-sided efforts rather than combined efforts. Both of them have at least one moment where they take action and insist on handling an issue on their own, even though their facade can only hold if they coordinate. They're slowly learning to let down their walls and communicate better. And as I said, I really love these two. It did not take them long at all for me to really get attached to them. So I'm super excited to see them work together better as coworkers and as fake fiancés and really get more into these characters. So for talk more so going on about the series as a whole now, rather than just focusing on those two, one compliment I can give is that it's not super predictable so far. This is a pretty standard, like, lowbrow kind of chill comedy, and with romance and wholesome vibes mixed in. But it has some moments that are genuinely surprising. Like, I was genuinely taken aback by the call they received that threatened them about the fake marriage. The tone has been pretty lighthearted when it came to keeping up the facade. Like, it's not, I don't really feel afraid that they were going to expose themselves and get in trouble or anything like that. But then they added this, which adds in some genuine tension. And it's even better that this is not immediately taken care of. So this is just a looming threat that we have to settle with and keep in our minds, alongside all the more wholesome shenanigans about them getting to know each other and stuff like that. This is excellent for making the show engaging and not too light. While I did expect the part about the misunderstandings from the princess, like that was very much a more standard trope kind of scene to do, but I was very pleasantly surprised with the actual execution and climax of it, which is that she was not coming on to him, and has a much more unique relationship that they were tending to lead with, to get into. It has been established that a running theme of this series will be exploring unconventional people and relationships. We already have our abnormal main duo, navigating a fake relationship that seems to be blossoming into a real one, and that there are many tribulations because of their quirks. I was interested in the potential for an aromantic relationship from this premise when I first got into it, and I still would appreciate seeing something like that, but to me, that's clearly not where they're going with this, based on these first few episodes. But now, as I said, I've gotten brought onto actually really supporting these two as a couple. So I would be happy if we get to see a proper relationship between them that still stays unconventional to fit with their unconventional personalities. And this theme is also solidified by the main premise of episode 3, where we learn the princess that Takya had been escorting, she is a lesbian, and she wants to break away from the heteronormative expectations thrust on her as a royal. I really appreciate this representation. I think it was done really well and was handled very competently and not done in any kind of shocking or fetishized way or anything along those lines. So this leaves a very strong impression and makes me really hope that we continue to see more unique relationships that are not just the bog standard romance. So as we progress in the series, I hope, as I said, we continue to see more about how these non-traditional relationships can be just as valid and just as healthy as normal ones. So yeah, we've been getting a lot of touches on the various elements that play into marriage. So hopefully we get to see more interesting things about that, such as family, local culture, expectations, and social pressures. Not that much I can say on these themes more deeply, as this is very early on, but I'm looking to see more of these broader topics get brought up. And just a final note, the opening I think is good. It's just like a standard okay opening, but the ending is really cute. And with that, I can say that I am loving the show so far. Someone who loves wholesome shows, this is hitting the mark for being above average thanks to its adorable and endearing leads and strong handling of the topics it's focused on. I think a lot of shows that are very focused on being like wholesome romances can struggle with either one of those. Like I didn't want to get too much into them like standing strong as like better than average main characters because of how early we are, but so far I think they seem better than a lot of standard protagonists. As I've said, they have a lot of very appealing and clear traits that make them feel more unique, and I feel like they're both carrying their weight so far. I think they're both appealing characters who bring their own energy to the scenes, and it's not like just one of them is meant to be super attractive and the other one's just a clear self-insert. So far, I don't really get those vibes, which is awesome. So yeah, I'm really excited to continue watching this show. And yeah, thank you very much for listening. Like, subscribe, and all that stuff if you want to hear more about anime and that's coming out with this season, and manga and other sorts of media topics that I cover. So yeah, like, subscribe, blah blah blah. and thank you very much.